Hi, my name is Tracy Watts. I'm the Director of the Office of Community Development, Local Government Assistance, and our office manages the water sector program. So today we're going to be going over the requirements for phase two of the water sector program. So thank you for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to Heather Paul, our Assistant Director, to go through all of the information.
Good afternoon. This presentation is or will be available on our website on the Water Sector Program Phase 2 page. And we'll also post the recording to our YouTube channel, and which is also linked on our website. If you have any questions today, please enter those in the Q&A. Tracy will be monitoring that, and we can go over any questions that you have at the end. Please be sure to enter your name and email address with your question, just in case we're unable to answer it today and we'll need to follow up with you later. Participants must type their name and the system name in the chat box, and that's just how we're going to document who attended for the webinar. So if you don't enter it in the chat, we won't be able to document that you were with us today. For our agenda today, we're going to go over where we are now, any revisions that are necessary, grant conditions, extensions, permission to bid, requests for payment, and closeouts. All awards were issued for phase 2 on March the 6th, 2025. They are listed on our website if you want to look at those. And then we sent out the authorization to incur costs and grant condition letters on April the 7th. We sent out the grant agreement. If you get your grant agreement, or when you get your grant agreement, please review it and notify our office if there are any changes necessary, such as the chief executive officer or the address. The grant conditions were included in the authorization to incur costs and grant agreement letter. That includes the grant agreement, a supplemental information page, financial management questionnaire, performance schedule, plans and specifications, rate study, information about matching funds, and consolidation. These are just some important notes. Even though we sent out the authorization to incur costs, like you should not advertise for bids or begin construction on any activity at this point. We will send written authorization when it's time for you to advertise for bids and when funds have been released, and when the plans and specifications for the project have been reviewed. Funds will not be released until all conditions have been submitted and approved or cleared by this office. If you need or if any revisions are required, that also has to be completed by the deadline. Any extension requests will have to be approved by the Water Sector Commission. We encourage you to clear conditions as soon as possible. Just because you have 2 months for something, we would love for you to send it in as soon as you can. The first thing is the grant agreement. It's due within 2 months. Review the information, identifying your system, review the amounts. The CEO must sign the agreement, and you should return the hard copy to our office. The supplemental information page, this is available on our website. It's due within 2 months. The financial management questionnaire goes over the financial management functions for the system. It must be completed. Pay special attention for the requests for payment. Those people are going to have to be the ones who are signing requests for payments at the appropriate time. This has to be completed and also submitted to our office. The performance schedule, here's a copy of it. You'll put your authorization to incur costs at the top. And then for all of you, you'll begin in quarter 4 and it'll go through quarter 15 because it's based on the authorization to incur costs. You're going to list out your activities and the time or the amounts for each quarter when you're approximating the funds will be drawn. Make sure that you're including all funding sources and identifying each one. This is the entire set of directions, so you can refer back to it, but the directions are also included with the form for your convenience. If you need additional space, you can attach other forms to it. It's an estimate, but we use it to just make sure that the project is staying on track, and it can be revised when necessary. Plans and specifications are due within 6 months. Those are going to go to LDH for water projects and DEQ for wastewater projects. Our office must be notified that all documents have been submitted to them within that time period. You don't have to send us a copy of the plans and specifications, but we will need a final cost estimate. And you'll also have to include that with the plans and specifications. Our office will follow up with LDH and DEQ to ensure that all the projects approved in the water sector application have been included in the final plans and specifications. The rate study is due within 6 months. If you do meet all your other grant conditions, with the exception of the rate study, you can sign a certification so that you can move forward with your project and not have to wait for the rate study to be completed. Our office is in the final stages to hire firms to work with our grantees on the completion of the rate studies. We will assign the firms to work with the grantee. We look at the complexity of the project, the capacity of the firm, and any conflicts that there might be. The firm will contact each grantee to begin the process. Please don't request any changes. We will not be able to meet that request. All grantees will be required to participate in the process. If you've had a rate study completed on or after July 1st of 2024, we can review that, or the firm can review that to see if it meets the requirements, but you'll still have to comply with that requirement. Matching funds documentations, those are due within 2 months. The type of documentation required is really going to be based on what type of matching funds that you have. But you'll need to submit that to our office, identifying the type and that they're available to be spent. If applicable, consolidation documents are due within 2 months, and that's if more than one system is involved, an executed agreement must be submitted to our office. Any extension requests regarding grant condition deadlines must be approved by the Water Sector Commission. You can submit a letter to our office requesting the extension and give an explanation of the need and how long you'll need. And you'll be required to appear before the Water Sector Commission to discuss that request. Once all grant conditions have been cleared, our office will give permission to bid to the system. And once LDH or DEQ has notified us that all the projects included in the water sector application have been included in the plans and specs. Grantees are required to advertise within 30 days of being given permission to bid. And once you've received bids and awarded the contract, you'll need to submit the notice of contract award form to Suzanne Bentley Smith at that email address. This will be posted on our website. The form is already there. You can look at it. It's here. Please note that at the top it says date received by our office. We review these to see that you've completed it, but we are not reviewing it for correctness necessarily. That's your responsibility. So make sure that it's accurate, that you have the funds available to meet the bid or the award amount. Once it's time for you to request payment, you will, or before that, you can actually sign up for EFT. All grantees are required to use EFT and to enroll for a vendor number if you don't have one. So you can go through the Office of Statewide Reporting and Accounting Policy. That's OSRAP. That's linked there. If you have clean water revolving loan fund or drinking water revolving loan fund, then you have to have documentation from LDH or DEQ indicating that that payment has been reviewed and approved by them before submitting it to our office. That has to come with the request for payment. We will not process that until it's received. We'll take into account any match that's listed on the request for payment form when calculating the payment, but the funds will not be identified as documented until we have the required documents. So this is the request for payment form. You'll have to download the form first and save it and then reopen it. You'll need to have Adobe Reader in order to sign it. We're going to do a separate webinar just for convenience sake to go over how to use the form specifically. So it'll be a little bit shorter and easier to work with. Once you have this completed form, you can send it to our payment request mailbox. All of our payments go to that mailbox. So just to show you the top information is just basic information about the grantee, the date that you're requesting the information, your subrecipient number, which is listed in the water sector portal. Your PO number is like your contract number with us, and the vendor number is what you're given by OSRAP. We don't have that, but we can't process the payment without it at the same time. So we'll need that from you. You just put whatever request number it is. We go in order. If you have to revise it, you'll put an A after. So if you submit number 1 and we ask you to fix something, the next one becomes 1A until that one's processed. On your final one, we ask that you note that it's final. The top portion under H is what you are documenting as your match, how much match you've committed to the project, how much you've already submitted to our office, the amount for, this request for payment and whatever is remaining. So you're not required to document it at that point. You could just list it on there, and that's what we take into account. You'll see further down on the request for payment form at the bottom, 6, 7, 8. This is what's actually documented. So when you send in invoices and canceled checks, then we'll say they've documented that amount and that goes there. All your requests for payment for this one will be entered here depending on what form it or what item it goes on, what activity. And then this is just the grant amount. You'll have to have a digital signature here, and then we sign here. Once we've approved it, we'll send it back to you so you can see how much the payment's supposed to be. You can check your own payments to see when they go through. The address is at the bottom. You'll need your tax ID number along with your vendor ID number. And then you can search by a time frame and it'll be listed there. This is the instructions for completing the form. They're included on the same website on the Water Sector Phase 2 page. This is the form that our grant representatives use to review your request for payment. So before you submit it to us, you can look over that and see, is it correct? And would we approve it, or would it, would any revisions be necessary? So documentation of match funds, I probably covered all this at this point. Let's see, you'll be required to provide documentation. By the time you don't have to submit it with each request for payment, but with the final payment, we'll need it then. Once you send the final payment, if there's any match in that portion, then obviously you can't submit the canceled checks for that one, but you can do it up to that point. All invoices paid and canceled checks must be submitted to our office to verify the match. So in your application, if you have 100% match or 150% match, it gets really complicated for us for match purposes for payments. It's not easy, we'll say that. And so for us, because the points only went up through 76%, we just are going to calculate to 76%. So anything up until that last payment, we're just going to use 76%. Anything over that will you can pay at the end. When 80% of your grant funds have been expended, our office will send the grantee a completion report that you'll have to complete and submit back to us for review and approval. If your project, is under budget and you are ready for it before 80% has been expended, you can just contact us and request that, and we'll go ahead and send it out to you. Upon expenditure of all grant funds and with the receipt of the correct completion report, we'll send a closeout approval letter. And just a reminder that grantees will be required to have a certified operator on staff operating the system prior to closing out the grant. Some final notes: no additional funding requests will be considered. I cannot stress this strongly enough, so everybody refocus and pay attention. No additional funding requests will be considered. The Water Sector Commission did not hold back any funds. There's no other funding available for these projects. Any future funds that they appropriate for Water Sector Phase 2 will go to other projects, not to any of the ones that are already ongoing. So you'll have to find your money somewhere else for overruns. Grant agreements are for 3 years, so the entire project must be completed within that time frame. We are continuing to make improvements to the portal. We're trying to get more parts of the process online, like payments and submitting match. So we'll notify you of any changes to procedures that we've included today. So just be aware that some of that is coming. Any change orders that you have should be submitted to Suzanne Bentley Smith. That's her email address. Any other requests for consideration by the Water Sector Commission need to be sent to Suzanne and to me. It's heather.paul@la.gov. I've included contact information for Tracy, me, and Suzanne. Tracy is still here in our office right now, but she is set to retire on June 20th. So you can include her or submit information to her up until that point, but I would advise copying me before that. And then after that point, send information to me or Suzanne. Woo. So are there any questions for today?
There hasn't been any questions posted in the Q&A, but I would remind everyone to put your name and system number in the chat. If you can access the chat, some people have had issues doing that. If not, you can put it in the Q&A section. Just make sure that you put your name, excuse me, and the system so that we have a record of who attended.
And we're happy to answer any questions.
Someone posted in the chat, is Davis Bacon required? That is no. These funds are strictly state funds, so it does not have federal requirements attached to it. And yes, the recording of this webinar will be made available after we can get it up on our website.
But I'll post the slides today. As soon as we're finished, it takes a little bit longer to get it on YouTube.
Are there any other questions, comments? Someone asked, is there a final inspection required? At this point, we have not set that requirement. Again, this is state funds, so it's going to be a little different. And this is kind of the design and implementation of a new program for us. Phase 2 is different than phase 1. So I can't comment on what may happen further down the road, but right now we have not established that. Final call. Any other questions that anyone has? Okay, well, we're gonna let you all go. We really appreciate y'all joining in today. And remember, if you have any questions, just reach out and let us know. Y'all have a good afternoon.
Thank you.